Hello friend, I'm so glad you're here tonight. It doesn't matter where you're listening from, or what time it is. If you're looking for a quiet place to rest your head, then you've found it. Take a deep breath in, and let it out slowly. Your body may have wandered far today, but your mind is about to drift away from Earth. Imagine this: you're floating upward, gently, like a feather caught on a breeze, rising above your home, above the rooftops, above the night birds flying. Home to sleep. You rise past the clouds, past airplanes, and past the humming satellites circling the globe. You wave to the space station as you pass, a fellow traveler in orbit, and then you turn and look back. It is the first time you truly see Earth, not in a photo, not through a window, not as a background on your phone, but with your own quiet mind, from a distance so vast that every sound has faded, every worry shrunk to a pinprick, and the only thing left is wonder. There it is, a blue sphere turning slowly as if dreaming. No borders, no arguments, no noise, just blue. The blue of oceans, of clouds, of a world that breathes slowly in its sleep. Earth doesn't know it's beautiful. It doesn't try to be. It simply is. Just like you, right now. You don't have to prove anything. You don't need to do more. All you have to do is breathe. From far away, you can see it. Earth spins, not wildly like a carnival ride, but gently like a seasoned dancer repeating the same perfect step in a song billions of years long. No rush, no mistake, no pause. If you are quiet enough, you might hear that rhythm. Not in your ears, but somewhere deeper. The sound of steady breath, the sigh of motion. Like wind brushing softly across your fingers when you lean your hand out a car window. You don't see it, but you feel it. Earth spins on its axis once every 24 hours, but it never complains, never says, "I'm tired today." It spins because that is what it does. It spins to soothe itself, and as it spins, it orbits the sun, a journey that takes 365 days. It's a long, silent trip without traffic or destination. Just a constant, smooth arc around a star that never stops shining. No one tells Earth to do this. There are no reminders, no alarms, just gravity, an old quiet friend gently tugging it along. Earth never asks, "Am I doing okay?" It doesn't check its likes. It doesn't wait for praise. It just keeps turning, even when we forget to notice. From where you float, you'll see one more thing. Earth is not alone. It has a companion, the moon, round, shy, always circling, never leaving. Night after night, the moon glides around Earth, saying nothing, but always watching. Did you know, without the moon, Earth might wobble, its seasons might vanish, its oceans might lose their rhythm, its days might stretch or shrink like breath held too long. The moon steadies Earth, like a hand on the shoulder of a friend who's about to fall. You don't often think about the moon, but it's there, always there, even when it's hiding, even when it's thin as a whisper. It keeps watch. Close. Your eyes imagine you are lying along the curve of Earth's equator, your body held gently by gravity like a soft, invisible blanket. Above you sky, below you a slow, deep heartbeat of stone and molten core. You are not falling, you are held. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Earth doesn't ask what you're doing with your life. It doesn't judge your choices, your thoughts, your breath. It simply carries you. Like a mother who doesn't say, "I love you," but always saves a bowl of warm food, waiting in the kitchen light. If you ever feel small, well, you are. If Earth were the size of a beach ball, you would be a speck of dust on its surface. And yet if you disappeared, Earth would lose a breath. You are small, yes, but not insignificant. Earth spins for all of us, and it would notice if even one whisper went missing. So now you lie still, on a planet quietly spinning through space, wrapped in the soft hum of magnetism and memory. You don't need to do anything tonight. Let Earth spin. It's been doing it for 4.5 billion years. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need applause. It just turns and breathes and keeps you here, safe. Tonight, sleep on your planet like you've never slept before. No more effort, no more fear. Just close your eyes and drift. Earth will carry you through the night, without a map, without a word, without a worry, just silence and love. Float a little higher now. Just a little. The blue sphere beneath you shrinks, not in meaning, but in size. You are far enough now that the clouds no longer look like clouds, but like soft strokes of white paint brushed gently across an oceanic canvas. Everything that ever happened in human history is down there, tucked beneath those swells. Every thought, every invention, every mistake, every love letter, every lullaby, every breath drawn in joy or in fear, all of it floating quietly on a warm rock suspended in a vacuum. From here, Earth no longer seems crowded. It seems quiet. Even generous. You may begin to wonder, how did it begin? How did this quiet, spinning cradle come to be? To tell that story, we have to go back, farther than ancient cities, farther than the first creatures to crawl from the sea, farther even than oceans themselves. We have to return to when Earth was not Earth yet, just a dream inside a swirling cloud of dust. About 4.6 billion years ago, a star exploded nearby. Yes, really, a supernova, loud and radiant and brief as cosmic fireflies go. Its death scattered dust, metal, rock, heat, memory, into a nearby nursery of gas and silence. That explosion nudged a ripple through a cloud of interstellar material, a gentle, cosmic tap on the shoulder, and the cloud, as if woken from a long nap, began to collapse. It spun and flattened and gathered. The center of the cloud would one day ignite into the sun, but around it, fragments of matter clumped, danced, collided. They did not know what they were becoming. They simply followed gravity's whispered instructions. One of these clumps grew. It pulled dust toward itself like a child gathering fallen leaves. Each speck carried heat, and the more they piled on, the warmer it became. Soon it was no longer dust, it was a sphere, misshapen at first, but growing round with pressure. Still young, still soft. This was Earth, not the quiet breathing Earth you know, but an Earth of fire, molten, angry, loud, if space could carry sound. A spinning sphere of magma and chaos. It was not peaceful. It was not blue. It was not home. But it was becoming. Comets came and went, messengers of water. Asteroids collided, sometimes gently, often violently. Each crash was a punctuation mark in the story of becoming. Each strike left behind not just scars, but ingredients. Carbon, water, iron. Some were gifts, some were warnings. Earth had no oceans then, no air, only heat, rock, and potential. Imagine it, a ball of fire glowing against the darkness, spinning faster than it does today, its surface restless, its interior churning with molten intent. And yet even this angry young planet was part of a lullaby, Because, just as Earth was forming, so too was the moon's story beginning. But that's for later. For now, we hover above a young world and listen to its furnace heart hum. And the most beautiful part, it would have looked empty to us. No trees, no rivers, no bird song. But emptiness is never truly empty. Within the chaos, patterns were emerging. Layers were forming core, mantle, crust, cracks appeared. Gases bubbled. Volcanoes shouted without voices. Earth was learning to breathe. Not yet the breath of life, but the breath of structure, of rhythm, of shape. It is strange to think of a planet growing not like a tree, but like a promise. It doesn't bloom. It coalesces. It doesn't sprint. It spins. It doesn't speak. It holds. Eventually, the surface cooled. Not cold, no, but cooler. Enough for rock to crust over, for magma to retreat beneath the skin. And when the first droplets of water arrived, maybe from comets, maybe from deep inside, they sizzled, hissed, danced, and waited. They were patient, because they knew that soon they would flow. Tonight, as you rest, know that the ground beneath your bed, the soil beneath your home, was once molten rage, and yet now it holds your steps with gentleness. It grows flowers. It cradles oceans. You are sleeping on cooled chaos, isn't that something? So, when you close your eyes, don't think of today's worries. Think of lava turning into land. Think of dust becoming gravity. Think of the furious beginnings that led to this peaceful night. Earth didn't start quiet, but it learned, and so can we. Sleep well, small dreamer, on a planet that once burned for you. Drift a little lower now, gently, until you're just above the surface of that once molten world. The earth beneath you is no longer a churning sea of fire, but something new, something calmer. Still warm, still restless, but cooling. You hover over a vast landscape of jagged rock and rising steam. There is no grass, no trees, no birdsong, only stone and mist and silence. But if you listen closely, you'll hear something different now. Not the roar of magma, but the hiss of vapor, the murmur of condensation. Earth is learning to cry. Water has arrived, drip by drip, comet by comet, or maybe bubbling up from its own molten heart. And after millennia of being scattered and seared, the moisture finds a place to rest. Clouds gather. They swell, grow heavy with promise, and then, finally, rain. Imagine the first rain. Not a drizzle, not a polite afternoon sprinkle, but a storm that lasted centuries. Water falling on barren rock, steam rising from everywhere. Every drop sizzling as it touches a world still warm to the bone. And yet, the rain continues. Over time-long, patient time, pools begin to form. The rock begins to wear down. Craters become lakes. Lowlands become seas. And the earth, so long, parched and glowing, becomes damp. Then wet, then blue. The oceans are not deep at first. They are shallow, stretched across continents not yet born, gathering wherever the surface dips or softens. And when enough water collects, the earth looks up if it could and sees itself for the first time, reflected in still pools, a mirror of becoming. The sky is not yet blue. It's more of a haze, thick with gases, unfiltered light, an atmosphere still mixing its ingredients. Carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, steam, a recipe not yet adjusted, for life but stirring, slowly. In the planetary pot, lightning cracks across the horizon, not in fear, but in creation. Each bolt is a spark in the experiment. Each storm a laboratory. No lab coat required, only time and patience. And in those bubbling tidal flats, in the warm shallows, something begins to stir. Not life, not yet, but the molecules that dream of it. Amino acids, proteins, chains of carbon and hydrogen trying to dance in the right order. Imagine them teeny invisible dancers, floating in warm water, bumping into each other, trying to find a rhythm. They are not alive, but they want to be. And Earth, still silent, still turning, gives them all the time they need. Above them, the sky swirls. Below them, the mantle churns. And in between, in the cradle of warmth and wetness, possibility pulses. You might wonder, how long did it take? The answer is, longer than you can count. And also, exactly the right amount of time. Because Earth has never been in a hurry. It doesn't rush miracles. It simply spins, and waits, and watches, beneath volcanic skies and toxic clouds. The oceans deepen. Rain continues. The crust cracks and reforms. Mountains rise and fall. Continents drift before they even have names. But in the quiet corners of shallow water, the molecules persist. They twist, they bind, they fold. They try again. And one day, though no one saw it and no one clapped, they succeed. A tiny pocket of chemistry becomes something more. It wiggles, it responds, it divides, it lives. The first cell, born in silence, unnoticed, unnoticed, and yet everything changes. Not immediately, not dramatically, not with fireworks or fanfare, but in that quiet act of becoming, the Earth crossed a threshold. It is no longer just rock and water. It is now home. That first cell does not know it is special. It doesn't know that one day its great grandchildren will walk, fly, write poetry, launch rockets. It only knows how to split, to eat, to float. But that is enough, because life, like planets, does not need an audience to be beautiful tonight. As you lie still, you carry the echoes of that first life, not as metaphor, not as poetry, but in your cells, in your blood, in the code written inside you by a world that once boiled, cooled, rained, and waited. You are, quite literally, made of Earth's patience, so rest easy. The oceans still sing. The sky still remembers, and beneath you, the planet still turns in quiet celebration of the life it helped create. Earth now has oceans. Not the calm, postcard oceans you know today, but steaming, restless, gas-choked waters beneath skies heavy with clouds and lightning. The world is still unsure of itself, still rumbling like a child just learning to breathe. After a long cry, that first cell didn't stay alone for long. It divided, it multiplied, it clumped, it dispersed. No eyes, no language, just instinct, just the deep pull of persistence. And so life began to spread, not with a roar, not with fanfare, but with rhythm, with repetition, with the quiet determination of tiny things doing their quiet work. It might seem insignificant, but every breath you take today echoes the first whispers of those cells. Life has never been flashy in its beginnings. It starts with trying. It continues with trying again, and trying again, over and over. Some of those early cells discovered how to use sunlight. They captured energy from the sun, turned it into food, and, without meaning to, released oxygen. They didn't know the consequences. They weren't trying to change anything. They were just living. But Earth changed. Oxygen, the invisible thing you're breathing now, was once a waste product. But slowly it began to build. It reacted. It transformed the air. It destroyed some older forms of life and made room for new ones. The sky began to shift. The thick haze grew thinner. Light reached deeper into the sea. And Earth, once only rock and vapor, now had atmosphere, now had breath. Time passed, hundreds of millions of years. A blink to the stars, a lifetime to a drop of seawater. Cells grew more complex. They started working together. Some became better at moving, others at eating. Some sensed light. Some protected the rest. Eventually, life formed into creatures with many cells, small, simple, but organized. Little more than blobs, but blobs with purpose. And so began the architecture of life, like the first chords of a song, like scaffolding for a story yet to unfold. Jellyfish, algae, soft-bodied things that drifted, crawled, dissolved without a trace. They left behind few fossils, but they left behind a pattern, a blueprint of cooperation. And then one small creature moved out of the sea. It didn't mean to. It wasn't brave. It was probably just following food, or fleeing danger, or slipping across a damp rock a little too far from shore. But it didn't die. It adapted. Gills became lungs. Fins turned to limbs. Flopping turned into crawling. And just like that, Earth exhaled a little deeper. For the first time in its long history, life touched land. Plants began to root. Insects began to hum, not for anyone to admire, not to perform, just because. The time had come. The atmosphere filled with color. Oxygen thickened. Skies grew brighter. Nights cooler. And Earth softly, silently began to bloom. You're lying on that bloom now. Maybe not in a forest, maybe not near a river, but even the sidewalk beneath you was once watered by ancient storms, once shaped by ancient oceans. Can you hear it? Not the traffic, not your clock, but the sound of moss pushing through stone, the murmur of bacteria fermenting in the dark, the hush of leaves still holding their breath. It's all still happening, just slowly, just softly, just as it always has. And you, a creature made of cells that remember the sea. You are lying here, breathing, listening, becoming. You don't have to do anything. Just rest. Earth has already done the hard part. Close your eyes for a moment. You don't have to imagine anything grand. Just feel it. You are lying on a planet that knows how to spin, how to nurture, and how to be quiet. Beneath you is ground, solid, still, but every grain of sand, every pebble, every patch of hardened soil was once fire, once water, once movement. Everything you think of as still on Earth is always in motion. Mountains shift, oceans drift, even continents float slowly, gently, like sleeping giants rolling over in their dreams. Picture this. The land beneath your feet today once touched Africa. Then, inch by inch, it drifted away. No urgency, no resistance, just a long, slow sigh. Across the surface of a molten world, these are tectonic plates, massive puzzle pieces of crust gliding over a sea of fire. They do not hurry, they do not complain, they just adjust. When they collide, mountains rise. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps. Not built overnight, but pushed skyward over millions of years, by silent pressure from below. Did you know that Himalayas are still growing, just a few millimeters each year? But it adds up, and Earth doesn't mind how long it takes. It has always dreamed slowly, and where plates pull apart, rifts appear. Molten rock bubbles up, volcanoes form, new islands are born, from fireland, from land, life, and sometimes stories. You are sleeping on a planet that constantly remakes itself, that breaks in order to become, that lets go in order to hold something new. Even rivers don't stand still. They travel from mountain top to sea, carving stone, smoothing everything they touch, and water, gentle as it seems, can cut canyons, can move mountains, can reshape a continent if given enough time. And Earth has time. So much time, so what you see as permanent is really just paused in motion. And what you think is small, a raindrop, a grain of sand, a breeze, those are the true sculptors of this world. Through all this slow change, life continues. Ancient forests rise like green breath over the soil. They don't ask permission. They don't wonder where to grow. They just do, leaf by leaf, root by root, in silence. Even now, as you rest, somewhere deep in the dark soil, a seed is waking up, stretching quietly, reaching toward a sun it hasn't seen yet. You don't have to chase anything tonight. You don't have to shape anything. You already are part of something vast and patient. The earth beneath you is not passive. It is alive with memory. It remembers the sea before the land. It remembers fire before stone. It remembers life before names. And it carries all of it quietly, while holding you, so breathe. Let the bed beneath you become shoreline. Let your blanket become canopy. Let your dreams wander like rivers through ancient valleys where nothing is rushed and nothing is wrong. The earth is still spinning, still growing mountains, still carving its shape with time and light and love. And tonight, it carries you without asking anything in return. Look up just for a moment, not with your eyes, but with your imagination. The sky you know, the blue ceiling of your days, was not always there. In Earth's early hours, there was no blue. No soft gradient at sunrise, no golden hour, no gentle twilight. There was only haze, a thick, murky veil of gas and shadow, a sky without breath, without birds, without even the idea of color. But even skies evolve, over time. As oxygen rose from the oceans and filled the air, the haze began to thin. Sunlight, once scattered and harsh, found room to pass through. It touched nitrogen, it danced with air molecules, and one day the sky turned blue. Not all at once, not with a cheer, but gradually, quietly, as though the planet had finally exhaled after holding its breath for 1 billion years. And beneath that first true sky, life continued its quiet work. Plants learned to grow taller. Some learned to stretch toward light. Others learned to hold onto the soil, to cling to rock, to survive wind. Roots reached downward, leaves reached upward, and in time, entire forests whispered across the land. Trees appeared, with bark like armor and crowns like green dreams. Ferns unfurled in the shadows. Moss softened stone, and with them came shade. And with shade came shelter. And with shelter possibility. Insects, already humming in the air, found purpose among the petals. Wings evolved. Buzzes began. Life grew stranger. Life grew louder. Still, no one was watching. There was no applause. But Earth, without ever meaning to, was becoming a garden. And what is a garden if not a place where time grows. Even the rocks began to change. Rain and wind wore them down. They crumbled into soil. They made room for roots, and the very bones of the planet became nourishment. Every mountain is temporary. Every cliff eventually becomes a hill, and every hill is destined to flatten, slowly, softly, as the world continues its patient turning. You lie now on that softening world, maybe on a bed of cotton and springs, but truly you are resting on soil shaped by centuries of rainfall and the long, slow breath of moss. Beneath your floor, beneath the concrete, beneath the foundation of your home, the planet continues its deep work. It is turning stone into story. It is reminding you that nothing needs to happen fast to be meaningful. And so we come to a time when the land was full, and the sea was full, and the sky was ready for the next great bloom. Because life, never content to stay still, was about to try something it had never done before. It was about to get big. Multicellular creatures had learned to organize. Some could now move with purpose. Some could sense the world around them. Some had eyes. Not the kind you're using now, but the first versions. Simple cups of light-sensitive cells that turned toward the sun and saw. SOMETHING, a shimmer, a shadow, a shape dot. And in that moment, the world got sharper. Movement gained meaning, and evolution, slow as ever, picked up a rhythm. Creatures grew teeth. Fins became faster. Hunting began, chasing, fleeing. The quiet garden of Earth was becoming lively, but even this, even the rush of new forms, was not chaos. It was a new kind of order, a balance between creation and risk, between stillness and change, and Earth, in its silent wisdom, allowed it all. You see, this planet has always held opposites: peace and pressure, fire and forest, destruction and bloom. And you, dear listener, carry that too. You are made of calm. You are made of storms. You are made of sunlight and salt. You are not separate from this world. You are its echo. Tonight, as you rest, feel the weight beneath you, not as burden, but as embrace. This planet blue, blooming, breathing, has grown to hold you, and it does, without asking for anything in return. So close your eyes. Let the first blue sky stretch above you. Let the first roots curl beneath you. Let the earth continue its work, quietly as you sleep. It began in the sea, as so many things on earth do. A bloom, a burst, a moment that in silence changed everything. Around 541 million years ago, something extraordinary stirred beneath the waves. It didn't happen in a flash. There was no trumpet in the sky. But suddenly, in the long, slow breath of time, life started to experiment with shape. This is what we now call the Cambrian explosion. Not an explosion of fire, but of form. In the shallow, sunlit oceans, life branched. Creatures with shells appeared. Legs, eyes, spines, claws. The world, once filled only with softness, now had structure. Imagine drifting through that ancient sea. You would see things never seen again. Trilobites scuttling across the seabed, their bodies patterned like armor. Strange worm-like beings with jaws and spikes. Predators with eyes that rotated. Filter feeders waving fans of feathery limbs, catching invisible meals from the current dot. Would not look familiar. It would not look peaceful. But it would be alive in a way Earth had never known. The oceans, once quiet, now shimmered with motion, with hunger, with light. This was the first time life truly filled a space, not just occupying it, but shaping it, an earth. It watched, without eyes, without thought, but with deep memory. The seas had become a mirror of possibility, and the land waited. Eventually life grew bold again. Some creatures pushed closer to shore, some crawled onto mudflats, their fins uncertain, their breath experimental. They didn't know what they were doing, but Earth welcomed them anyway. Plants came first, simple, small, green smudges, clinging to rock. Then moss, then ferns, then forests. Imagine that moment, a world of grey stones suddenly whispered over by green. Not just a few leaves, but towers, canopies, roots plunging deep. The atmosphere changed again. More oxygen, more breath, more chance, and then, from among the roots, insects emerged. Not the tiny ones you swat today. These were giants. Dragonflies with wings wider than your arms. Millipedes as long as sofas. Beetles with shells like armor. There was space for them. There was oxygen, enough to grow that big and still fly. And above them, as the ferns waved like seaweed in the air, something else stirred. Amphibians, then reptiles. Creatures with spines and skulls. Creatures that walked the earth. The great green cradle was now a stage, but it wasn't loud. Even the giant insects hummed more than they roared. Life was still learning its place, still taking gentle steps across soft moss and ancient mud and earth, still turning, still giving, still listening beneath the feet of every crawling creature. Beneath every forest canopy, the ground remembered every tide that had once touched it, because nothing on earth is ever truly forgotten, just changed, just remade. And as you lie there, resting on this planet of patient memory, know this: every breath you take comes from that same journey, from oceans that tried, from forests that dared, from creatures that wandered just a little, further than they were meant to. You are not separate from them. You are not above them. You are their continuation. Tonight, as the planet turns again, as roots stretch quietly in the dark, as unseen wings flutter in forests far from here, you are still being carried, still being held. Sleep, not as escape, but as reunion, with all the green, all the salt, all the silent courage that made this night possible. Earth is still becoming, and so are you. The forests were rising, their green arms stretching toward the sky like a prayer whispered in leaf. The air had thickened with oxygen, and the planet's breath felt deeper, more certain. It was a world wrapped in fern and silence, and for a time it seemed as though Earth had found its rhythm. And then something enormous stepped onto the stage from the undergrowth. Beneath the swaying tree ferns and shadowed ponds emerged creatures unlike anything the world had seen, limbs built for land, spines long and powerful, eyes that scanned both ground and sky. Reptiles had arrived, and they brought with them the future. At first, they were small, timid, curious, but slowly, over the course of millions of years, they changed. Some grew claws, some armor, some teeth the size of kitchen knives. Some learned to roar, and then, as if Earth itself decided to write in bold, the dinosaurs appeared. Not all at once, not as monsters, but as the next verse in the quiet song of life. They were not the villains of bedtime stories. They were simply life-scaled, large. Some were the size of chickens, others the size of cities. Some ran like wind across the plains. Some moved as slowly as mountains. They lived in forests, in swamps, on the edges of warm, shallow seas. They nested, they hunted. They watched the sun rise over a planet still steaming from within. Above them, the skies changed again, because Earth wasn't done creating. Feathers began to grow. Not for flight at first, but for warmth, for display, for identity, and in time, those feathers took flight. Birds, the descendants of thunderous reptiles, lifting gently into the air, light, precise, and almost impossibly beautiful. Even now, every sparrow outside your window carries echoes of a dinosaur's roar. The world, for all its changes, never forgets its roots. It simply refines them. As dinosaurs walked the earth, the planet itself continued to shift beneath their feet. Continents drifted apart. New mountains rose. Seas opened, then closed. And beneath it all, Earth's deep engine churned on. Volcanoes rumbled. Earthquakes whispered. The magnetic field wrapped around the globe like a protective spell. And every single day, the planet turned one full, slow pirouette under a sky full of stars. And what a sky it must have been. No city lights, no planes, no satellites, just darkness and the gentle, distant shimmer of a universe that watched in silence. Imagine a herd of sauropods, long-necked giants sleeping beneath constellations that still bear the same names today, the same stars that guided sailors, that inspired poets that blink above you now as you listen, were there watching. But even in that age of giants, nothing was permanent. Earth, as always, held beauty and change in the same hand, and while dinosaurs ruled the land, other creatures flourished to mammals, tiny quiet things, often in hiding, often in shadow. They nursed their young. They scurried through undergrowth. They looked up and perhaps, in some distant instinct, knew they were waiting for their moment. But that moment had not yet come, for now Earth wore a crown of reptiles, and it wore it well. You lie now on the same soil they walked, beneath the same stars, cradled by the same gravity. You are, in every sense, a child of the same planet, and as you breathe in this quiet hour, know that your lungs carry air once exhaled by 1,000 ancient forests, by feathered creatures long gone, by beasts whose bones now sleep in stone. You are not living on top of history. You are living within it. So sleep gently tonight, on a world that has cradled titans and still finds space for you. It was not the first time Earth had changed, and it would not be the last. The dinosaurs walked its valleys for over 160 million years, longer than trees have had flowers, longer than birds have sung, longer than humans can comprehend. To them, the world was eternal. Mountains would always be mountains, seas would always be warm, and the sky, so wide and quiet, would always be theirs. But Earth knows better. Earth is not in the business of permanence. It builds and it rebuilds. It writes in eras, not in moments, and so, as the Mesozoic era bloomed in size and wonder, something unseen drew closer, far beyond the reach of any thunder lizard. A rock drifted silently through space, not enormous by cosmic standards, but large. Enough, it did not roar, it did not burn, it simply approached, and one day, just another day, it arrived. The asteroid struck Earth, near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The force of the impact was beyond imagining. A brightness sharper than 1,000 suns, a wave of heat that scorched continents, fires that raged across forests too ancient to flee, and then darkness. Ash filled the sky, not just above the crater, but around the world. The sun disappeared, for weeks, then months, then years, Photosynthesis halted, plants withered, herbivores weakened, predators followed. The age of giants ended not with a roar, but with a silence so vast that even earth held its breath. And yet not all was lost beneath the ground, in burrows, in hollows, in nests, warmed by the last bits of lingering life. The small things waited. Mammals, some no bigger than a spoon. Soft, quiet, warm-blooded, not kings, not conquerors, just survivors. When the skies cleared, they emerged and earth began again. The forests returned, not immediately, but steadily. New plants, new flowers, pollinators, grasses where ferns had once stood like soldiers. The world didn't grow back the same. It never does. It grew back, different, smaller at first, then stranger, then filled with new possibility. And in time, mammals, those quiet, careful creatures, began to grow bolder. Some returned to the sea. Some climbed trees. Some stood upright. Some began to think, to shape, to dream. But that is still far ahead in the story. Tonight, you rest on a planet that has known fire and flood, that has watched empires of scale vanish beneath a sky full of ash dot, and yet, here you are, breathing air that once thickened with smoke, lying under stars that blinked through the dust. Alive, not in spite of endings, but because of them. Earth is not only a maker, it is a remaker. It loses, it mourns, and then it grows again. So if you are carrying something heavy tonight, something that feels too big, too dark, remember, even a planet can go dark and find its light again. Even a world that lost its mightiest can still grow forests from ash. You, too, can soften after impact. You, too, can begin again. Let the quiet hold you. Let the turning earth remind you. No story ends until the planet says it does. And tonight it is still turning, still writing, still holding you as part of its next chapter. Asterisk night falls gently, as it always has, as it always will. But tonight your thoughts drift further, tracing the path of time, following the thread of those small survivors that emerged from shadow after the great silence. The mammals, once quiet and overlooked, began to explore the world left behind. It was a planet reset, forests regrowing, rivers rerouting, clouds clearing, and in the absence of giants, the small were given room to stretch. They adapted quickly, they climbed, they ran, they nursed their young beneath tree roots and watched the sky cautiously, as if still expecting the old kings to return. But the thunder had passed, and in its place, curiosity. Some grew larger, some stayed small, some learned to glide from tree to tree, some developed sharp minds, sensitive ears, warm fur, and eventually, among the branches of ancient trees, a certain line of primates emerged. They didn't rule, not yet. They lived in groups. They learned from each other. They played. They were not remarkable, not faster, not stronger, not better armed. But they looked up. They noticed, and Earth, always the quiet companion, watched them grow. Millions of years passed. Continents drifted further apart, carving new shorelines, forming new mountains. The climate shifted, gently at times, violently at others. Ice came and went, came again. Glaciers moved like sleeping giants across the land, carving valleys, pressing down forests, reshaping everything with slow, icy patience. And through it all, those primates continued their story. Some walked upright. Some began to use their hands not just to hold, but to make. They shaped stones into tools. They used fire not just for warmth, but for thought, to gather, to share, to imagine. They painted in caves. They mapped stars. They left handprints in ochre, as if to say, I was here, I am part of this. And they were, so are you. Your hands, your spine, your breath, all carry the signature of that long becoming. You are not just alive. You are layered. Each cell remembers something, a moment of warmth in a burrow, a flash of light through forest canopy, a thunderous footstep once feared and now forgotten. You were not made in a single moment. You are the sum of oceans that boiled, forests that bloomed, stars that collapsed, and now here you are, resting, not because you've failed, not because you are weak, but because rest is part of remembering. Earth doesn't spin faster when it's stressed. It doesn't grow. Forests in a single night. It allows things to take the time they need. You can too. Let your breath be ancient. Let your body feel rooted. You are lying not just on top of a planet, but within its memory. Every element of you was once part of a volcano, a river, a gust of wind, and still you remain. A quiet mammal on a warm spinning rock, wrapped in a thin blue sky, surrounded by light that left its source millions of years ago just to kiss your face. Sleep now, not as escape, but as ceremony. The planet turns, the forests breathe, the stars remember Dot and you. You are home, asterisk, somewhere in the soil beneath you. Carbon still sleeps, carbon from ancient trees, from forgotten roots, from creatures whose names were never spoken aloud. That carbon is patient. It waded through storms, through ice, through fire. It waited through extinctions, through migrations, through the long, slow breath of time. And now that same carbon moves through you, in your lungs, in your bones, in the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat. You are not a stranger to the earth. You are a continuation of it. The story you are part of, this long, slow unfolding, has always been about persistence. Because after fire comes regrowth, after silence, sound, after stillness, motion. Thousands of years passed after the glaciers retreated. The great ice sheets melted, and rivers surged forward, carving paths through softening valleys. Forests returned. Grass spread like a whisper across the land, and with the warmth came animals. Bison, wolves, elephants larger than houses, and alongside them, us, not yet the builders, not yet the storytellers, just wanderers, moving with the seasons, drinking from glacial streams, sleeping beneath stars that remembered dinosaurs and would outlive us too. We lived in step with the earth then. Not perfectly, not peacefully, always, but close. Close enough to read the clouds, to feel the air shift before a storm, to track the migration of birds without a compass. Our ancestors did not name atoms, but they named rivers. They sang to the moon, they carved into stone, not mathematics, but memory. Their footsteps were gentle, not because they were more noble, but because the earth demanded it, because to walk harshly was to starve. To forget the patterns of the planet was to be forgotten in return. And so our species listened. We huddled by fire. We told stories under trees older than language. We looked at the stars not as objects, but as ancestors. And Earth, patient, as always, held us close. It offered food, shelter. Rhythm seasons came like verses in a song. Spring hummed with new leaves. Summer pulsed with growth. Autumn whispered of rest. And winter taught us to wait. We learned, not from books, but from birds, from rivers, from silence. That silence is still here, beneath the engines, beneath the cities, beneath the hum of electricity and modern urgency. The earth still sings its soft, original song. You only have to get quiet enough to hear it. Tonight, as you lie still, you are not separate from that lineage. You are made of survivors, of wanderers, of firekeepers, of stargazers. You come from those who knew how to listen, even when they didn't yet have words. Their knowledge is still in you, in the calm that returns when you hear wind through trees, in the comfort of warm stone beneath your hand, in the pause your heart takes when looking up at a sky full of stars you do not need to understand to love. So breathe with that knowledge. Let it settle in your chest like coals glowing softly. You carry something ancient and something very young. You are earth dreaming of itself. You are memory wrapped in skin. Sleep now, not as an ending, but as a way home, back through the footsteps, back through the forests, back through the stillness that made everything possible. Asterisk, asterisk. The fire flickers low. There is no city here, no metal, no tower of glass, only stars above, and the hush of wind weaving through tall grass. You are sitting beside ancestors, not ones you know by name, but ones who shaped you all the same. Their hands are calloused, their voices quiet, but their eyes, when they glance upward, hold the same starlight yours do. This was how our kind learned to think, not in silence, but in stillness, by watching, by waiting, by noticing that the moon returns in rhythm, that animals leave tracks, that seasons walk in circles, not lines. Long before the wheel, before agriculture, before architecture or alphabet, we had time, and in that time we formed memory, not in books, but in firelight, in stories told with smoke in the lungs and stars in the eyes. We knew what it meant to sit still. We knew that the earth gave, but only when listened to. There were no maps, but there were mountains. There were no clocks, but there were shadows and seeds. There was no science, and yet there was understanding, a pattern, a rhythm, a conversation. You see, we have always belonged here, not as masters, but as part of the whole, and earth, steady, unwavering, welcomed our curiosity. When we began to walk upright, it was the earth that steadied our steps. When we learned to use tools, it was stone and bone that formed the first handles. And when we looked at the night sky and wondered what it all meant, it was earth that answered, watch and wait. Because the universe does not shout, it whispers in the curve of a shell, in the branching of a tree, in the spiral of a galaxy. Even now, in a world of signals and screens, those whispers remain. You've just forgotten how to listen, but not forever, because somewhere in you, beneath the buzzing and the doing and the rushing, there is still a creature of night, a stargazer, a listener. You may not live in a cave, but you remember them. You may not light your fire with flint, but your blood still warms at its glow. You are, still, a part of that circle around the flame. And tonight, the flame is still burning. The stars are still watching. The ground is still holding you. Let the weight of all your thoughts melt into that circle. You don't have to solve everything. You don't have to remember what you forgot. The earth remembers for you. It remembers the footpaths before roads, the rivers before names, the forests before fences, the silence before speech, and it remembers you, not as a stranger, but as kin. So sleep, not to escape the noise, but to return to the quiet, to the first fire, to the first story. To the first breath shared beneath the stars, the planet turns. The embers fade, and in that turning, you are not lost. You are home. Asterisk, the sun has not yet risen. But the earth is already moving. Quietly, faithfully. It does not need your permission to begin the day. It has always known how. Somewhere in the east, light is stretching its fingers, not urgently, but curiously. Like a child peeking through a door, it has opened 1,000 times, before cities awaken, before alarms buzz and engines hum. There is a softness to the planet, a breath it takes just for itself. This is where life began again. After fire, after ice, after the age of giants and the silence of dust, new beginnings arrived slowly. Grass spread across the open land, grains rooted themselves deep, and animals followed, grazing, wandering, breathing into this new rhythm. Among them, our kind grew more daring. We stopped running. We began staying. We built fires not just for warmth, but for gathering. We planted seeds, not just to eat, but to wait. And from that waiting, civilization began to hum. Villages rose by rivers, not high, not loud, just close, close to water, to soil, to the things we had always trusted. We shaped stone, we tamed animals, we followed the sky like scripture, and still earth turned. Every crop depended on the seasons. Every house leaned into the wind. Every story mirrored the hills. We did not yet think of ourselves as separate. The river was not ours. It was mother. The tree, not timber, but ancestor. Time passed, and the earth gave, not in excess, not in indulgence, but in rhythm. It rained, and we danced. It thundered, and we listened. It blossomed, and we sang. This was not paradise. We suffered droughts. We feared the dark. We fought storms and sorrow. But always the land remained beneath our feet. And in that steadiness we built, we learned. To write, to draw, to measure the shadow of a stick and call it time. To plant by moonlight, to harvest by song. The stars became calendars. The sky became story. And the earth, always turning, always carrying us, was never once forgotten. But even as our villages grew, we remained close to the pulse. There were no satellites, no highways, no hurry. Only the knowledge that night would fall again, and the fire would be waiting. You, too, carry this. It did not leave you just because you have electricity now. You still remember, in the part of you that sighs at sunsets, that quiets in forests, that pauses beside the sea. You do not need a map to find your way back. The earth has never stopped calling you. Even now, as you lie still, you are part of that ancient rhythm. Your breath is the tide. Your pulse is the drum. Your stillness is the soil resting between seasons. Let the memory of that simplicity hold you, not to make you smaller, but to remind you, you've always been enough. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are right on time, in a world that turns slowly, intentionally, with love. So sleep. And let morning arrive the way it always has. Light brushing over the mountains, birds warming their wings, the sky changing color just for you. The earth does not rush the sunrise, and neither should you. Asterisk, long before the first clock ticked. Before we carved time into hours and minutes, the earth had its own rhythm, not measured in seconds, but in shadows, in tides, in petals opening with the light and folding again at dusk. And within that rhythm, our ancestors lived. They rose with the sun, not because they had appointments, but because light called them. They rested at night, not because the world demanded it, but because the stars whispered that it was time to be still. There was no hurry, only need. No multitasking, only presence. A bowl of water, a fire of dry sticks, a woven mat to sleep on, and a sky so full of stars it seemed to overflow. They did not see the earth as separate from themselves. They did not say, "This is mine." They said, "This is us." And they meant it. The river was not property, it was pulse. The mountain was not obstacle, it was memory. The wind was not nuisance, it was song. They knew the moods of the land, when it was thirsty, when it was restless, when it needed to burn to be born again, because earth has always been a living thing, not just spinning rock, but skin and breath and motion, a being of cycles and silence, of patience and pressure. And though the world changed, villages turned to cities, paths to highways, campfires to cables, that living earth never left us. It is still here, beneath your feet, beneath the concrete and metal and plans, beneath your daily thoughts and your restless scrolling, still waiting, still breathing. You don't have to leave civilization to return to it. You only have to notice the way leaves shimmer in the wind, the way dusk settles like a sigh across rooftops, the way your own breath slows when you remember you are part of something ancient. Something bigger than success, bigger than worry, bigger than any name you've been given, because you are not a machine. You are not a to-do list. You are Earth, in human shape. So rest the way Earth rests, with cycles, with intention, with room for stillness. Let your thoughts settle like fallen leaves. Let your limbs soften like branches heavy with fruit. Let your eyes close like the petals of a flower. At night, you are not falling behind. You are falling in line with a rhythm older than history, older than language, older than fear. Let yourself be held, not by expectation, but by gravity, by the quiet strength of a planet that has always known how to carry its own. The stars are still in the sky, the roots are still in the soil, and you are still welcome in this circle of breath and becoming. Sleep now, not because you're tired, but because you belong. Asterisk. Beneath the hush of midnight, as the planet spins without asking, you lie in the cradle of something vast, not just space, not just time, but belonging. You are not lost in the cosmos. You are anchored by gravity, by breath, by memory, deeper than your own. Tonight, the earth moves on, just as it always has. No announcements, no applause, just motion, steady as a heartbeat. It does not need recognition. It does not demand gratitude. It simply turns through meteor showers, through solstice and equinox, through storm and blossom, never missing a step in its ancient dance with the sun. And in this moment, your body moves with it. You may feel still, but you are traveling thousands of kilometers an hour through space. On a blue sphere wrapped in air and light, you are not sitting still. You are soaring, and somehow, even at that speed, you are safe, held in place not by walls or locks, but by the invisible arms of gravity. An embrace so constant you've forgotten it exists, but it is always there. The gentle tug that keeps oceans from floating away, the steady pull that holds your feet to the very story you come from. And what a story it is. From the first whispers of hydrogen and helium, to the formation of stars, to the birth of planets and the long sleep of moons, you arrived, not suddenly, not accidentally, but through process, through patience. You are built of stardust, yes, but also of persistence, of roots that refuse to die in winter, of creatures that fled fire and found caves, of mothers who wrapped their young in the warmth of their own bodies until spring came back again. You are not just alive. You are an inheritance of survival, of tenderness, of quiet strength, and tonight all of that moves with you. The planet beneath, the sky above, the breath within, it is all one rhythm, one being, one long, slow exhale. So if your thoughts are loud tonight, if your heart feels unsure, lay it down. Lay it into the hands of a world that has held lava, held ice, held thunder and ash, and still grows wildflowers after every storm. There is nothing you must prove, no pace you must keep. The stars will still shine whether or not you answer every message. The moon will still rise even if your to-do list is unfinished. Let that be your permission not to sleep, to breathe, to simply be. Because this planet, this ancient, generous planet, has made room for everything, even your rest. Close your eyes. You are already where you need to be. Asterisk, the sky above you has not changed much, though your world has. The same moon still rises, not always full, but always faithful. The same stars blink down, though cities now shine back, offering their own kind of constellations made of windows and streetlights. But beneath that sky, beneath your roof, beneath your skin, the earth is still there, still steady, still turning, still offering you rest with every rotation. We forget, sometimes, that we are not separate from this motion. We forget that the blood in our veins follows the rhythm of the tide, that the calcium in our bones was forged in the heart of ancient stars, that the silence we long for is not absence, but return. Return to slowness, to listening to the hush between the wind, to the breath between thoughts. Tonight, Earth keeps turning, and you are invited. Once again, to trust it. Trust the gravity that holds you. Trust the ground that does not collapse beneath you. Trust the air that keeps arriving, whether or not you remember to ask. There is a forest somewhere, deep and quiet, where no human foot has ever stepped. Its leaves unfurl at dawn, its moss drinks from the mist, its trees speak in fibers and scent, and none of it is waiting for an audience. It lives because it can, because life wants to stretch, to bloom, to continue. You, too, are part of that impulse. You don't need permission to rest. You don't need to explain your exhaustion. Like the tree that drops its leaves in autumn, you are allowed to let go, without apology, because Earth is not always growing upward. Sometimes it pauses, sometimes it sleeps beneath snow, sometimes it breaks only to heal stronger, and every season knows when to step aside. Right now it is night, not a failure of light, but a gift of darkness, a time for everything to slow without shame. Your body knows this. Even if your mind forgot, it remembers what it means to lie still, to let muscles soften, to let thoughts pass like clouds without grabbing at each one. You are not a machine to power down. You are a creature to soften, to exhale, to sink. Somewhere, far away, the tide is slipping back into the sea. Somewhere nearby, a bird has tucked its head beneath its wing. Somewhere inside you, a heartbeat continues its quiet work. You don't need to control any of it. The earth already has you, so let the bed beneath you become forest floor. Let the sheets become layers of fallen leaves. Let sleep come to you as gently as dusk drapes itself over the mountains. No pressure, no need. Just trust. You are already enough. The planet says so, every time it spins without asking you to hurry. Sleep now, soft as soil, still as moonlight, safe as home. Asterisk, there's something sacred about stillness, not the kind that demands silence, but the kind that settles in when the world stops expecting anything from you. Tonight, that stillness is here, in the hush between breaths, in the pause between thoughts, in the quiet curve of the earth beneath your spine. You may think the world has forgotten how to rest. The lights stay on all night. The messages never stop. The clock ticks like a heartbeat trying to outpace itself. But Earth remembers. It remembers how to slow down. In winter, it sleeps beneath frost. In drought, it waits. In shadow, it gathers strength. It doesn't panic when the leaves fall. It doesn't worry when flowers close. It knows that cycles matter more than momentum, and so do you. You were never built to rush endlessly. Your lungs were not designed for shallow breathing. Your heart does not beat in deadlines. It beats in rhythms, like waves, like wind through tall grass, like footsteps on ancient soil. There was a time when those rhythms ruled our lives, when we woke with light and rested when the stars came out, when we followed seasons like stories, when our bodies knew that dusk was not the end of productivity, but the beginning of peace. You still carry that knowing. It didn't leave you just because calendars replace constellations. It's still there in your tired bones, in your fluttering breath, in your quiet longing for something slower. And here, now, in this moment, you get to return to it. No one needs anything from you right now. No decision must be made. No answer must be found. There is only the soft gravity of sleep and the steady hum of a planet that never stops holding you. Outside, the trees are breathing. Even if you can't hear them, the soil is shifting. Even if you can't feel it, the stars are moving. Even if you never look up, and all of it continues, whether or not you try to control it, that is not chaos, that is grace. The world does not ask you to earn rest. It simply offers it. The way night follows day, the way shadow follows light, the way Earth continues its turning long after we've stopped paying attention. So lay your head down, not as someone who needs to escape the world, but as someone who belongs to it. Let the tension melt from your jaw. Let the muscles behind your eyes loosen. Let your shoulders fall into the mattress like leaves onto a forest floor. There is no need to fight this moment. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. You are exactly where you are meant to be, in the arms of a planet that has turned. Through extinction and bloom, through fire and frost, through silence and song, and still offers you one more night to be held. Sleep, not because you've earned it, but because it is your birthright to rest, to restore, to remember what it feels like to simply be. The earth never asks questions, but it holds all the answers. Not in language, not in formulas, but in texture, in rhythm, in the way it softens sharpness and smooths what once was jagged. You see it in stone. How cliffs crumble over centuries into sand that sings beneath your feet. You see it in rivers, how roaring torrents eventually yield to calm deltas and still lakes. And you feel it, even if you don't always know it, in your own body, how tension eases with time, how wounds close quietly without fanfare. Earth teaches through patience, and tonight you are invited into that lesson to let go, not dramatically, but gently, like leaves, letting go of their branches in autumn, not because they failed, but because their part is done for now. There is wisdom in release. The roots of ancient trees don't panic when the season changes. They don't grip the leaves tighter. They trust the cold, trust the stillness, trust the space that opens when something ends, and always, always, something grows. Again, you are no different. Inside you are seasons, not just days, not just moods, but full cycles, growth and decay, sunlight and frost, hope and stillness. You don't have to be blooming all the time. In fact, you were never meant to be. Look at the moon. It doesn't apologize for waxing and waning. It doesn't hide when it is only a sliver. It simply reflects what it is, each night different, each night enough. So if tonight you feel like a quiet crescent instead of a full glow, that is still light, that is still you. The planet does not measure your worth by productivity. It does not calculate your value by output. It watches how you return to stillness, how you soften when you've been hardened, how you lie down and trust gravity to do the holding. And here it is, beneath you, holding you now, not judging, not correcting, just being. Just like you are part of this wholeness. You are not the exception. You are not outside of nature. You are one of its gentlest expressions. So if your thoughts begin to rise again, as they do, meet them like clouds drifting across a dusk sky. Notice them, let them pass. Return to your breath, to the weight of your body sinking into earth, to the comfort of knowing you don't have to hold yourself up all the time. The ground does that. The planet does that. Every night, for billions of years. Let that be enough. No more striving, no more questions, only the quiet permission to exhale, to loosen, to sleep, like the oceans between tides, like the mountains beneath snow, like the forests before the first bird sings. Rest now. The world continues, and it carries you with it. Asterisk somewhere, beneath your home, beneath the floor, beneath the foundation. Beneath layers of time are rocks that haven't moved in 1,000,000 years. They do not rush, they do not resist. They simply exist, bearing the weight of forests, of buildings, of dreams. They are still, but they remember everything. Each layer of earth is a memory, not one that speaks in words, but in pressure, in mineral, in the quiet story of heat and time. And you are not separate from those layers. You are made of the same atoms, recycled from volcanoes, from riverbeds, from the breath of creatures who once curled in dens and looked out at a different world. You come from all of it, from dust that once floated in space, from water that has circled the globe 1,000 times, from stardust, yes, but also from soil and salt and stillness. Tonight, as you lie here, there is nothing you must become, nothing you must achieve. The planet does not ask you to improve. It only asks you to rest in the truth of what already is. That the forest does not look at the sapling and ask, "Why aren't you taller?" The ocean does not rush its waves. The stars do not compete for brightness, and yet they continue. Beautiful, unhurried, whole. Let yourself be like them now. Let go of the days. It's the list that loops in your mind, the pressure to be more than this soft, breathing moment. You are already enough, already whole, already part of something impossibly vast and endlessly gentle. Earth has known fire and flood. It has cracked open and healed over. It has lost an REGROWN. It understands pain. It understands pause. It understands that nothing needs to last forever. To matter, the path from stardust to sunrise is not straight. It curls, it circles, it rests, so rest. Let your heartbeat fall into rhythm with the slow turning of the planet. Let your breath echo the waves that still kiss ancient shorelines. Let your spine settle like sediment, layered in trust. Nothing is required of you now. The world will keep spinning. The winds will keep moving. The roots will keep growing beneath roads and ruins and time. You are safe here, carried by a planet that has always known how to hold what it loves. Sleep softly, fully deep as stone, light as air, wrapped in the memory of everything that brought you here. Asterisk, you are farther along than you think. Not just in life, but in the journey that began. Billions of years before your first breath. You are not standing at the edge of history. You are history in motion. A walking, breathing echo of every cell that ever split, every tree that ever bent toward light, every mammal that ever huddled against the cold. And tonight, that history pauses in you. You are the still point of a story that spans oceans and fire, bones and breath, starlight and sleep. So let's return, just for a moment, to that fire, to the time when early humans sat beside it, not to cook or to fight off the dark, but simply to watch, to listen, to see how flame dances like thought, how it flickers in rhythm with the wind, how it crackles like language before we had words. They watched the flames the way you now watch screens, but with reverence, with awe, with the soft realization that something alive was keeping them warm around those flames. They told stories, not grand myths, not legends carved into tablets, just the stories of what they saw, the color of the sky before the rain, the shape of a bird that didn't come back, the sound the earth made when it froze overnight. They didn't need explanations. They needed connection. They needed to remember that they were part of it all, and you are still part of it, even now, as the night grows deeper and the world grows quieter. You are sitting at that fire, not literally, but with your body, with your breath, with your remembering. This planet has always been your home, even when you forget it, even when you race through days so fast you can't feel your own feet. The soil still waits for your footprints. The wind still carries your name, spoken in the rustle of trees. And the sky, the same sky those early humans looked up at, still offers you its silence. There is no need to be anyone else right now. No need to achieve. No need to grow. Growth happens when you're not watching, like roots stretching underground, like lungs mending themselves in sleep, like stars forming in clouds of dust you'll never see. So rest, not because you're tired, but because rest is a sacred act, because it reminds your body that you are safe, that the story is still being written, even when you stop writing. The fire still burns, not with urgency, but with memory. The earth still turns. Not for approval, but because that's what love does. It continues. Let tonight be your turning to dot back into your body, back into the moment, back into the deep, slow rhythm that existed long before your name. Close your eyes. You are not ending. You are becoming. In stillness, in silence, in sleep. The world has waited billions of years to carry you gently through this night. And it will, asterisk. Somewhere, deep in the woods, a leaf has just let go. Not with a sound, not in despair, but gently, like a thought returning to silence. It twirls through the air, unbothered by gravity, falling not in failure, but in fulfillment. Its work is done, and the earth receives it with quiet gratitude. You are like that leaf tonight. You do not need to hold on. You do not need to cling. This is the season for soft release of tension, of expectation, of all the noise you've carried without. Realizing it, let it go. Let yourself fall into stillness. The forest knows this rhythm. So do the oceans. So does every creature that curls into its own warmth when the light fades. Rest is not the opposite of becoming. It is part of it. Even stars need silence before they ignite. Some of them, the oldest ones, are still traveling to your eyes. Their light, stretched across time, has taken billions of years to arrive, and yet it comes. Not in haste, not with fanfare, just the simple truth of persistence. You, too, are made of that same light, not metaphorically. Literally, the iron in your blood was forged in the heart of an ancient star. The calcium in your bones once spun through the galaxy as dust, and the water in your cells may have fallen to earth on the back of comets long before the first tree grew roots. You are, in every sense, a constellation in motion, and tonight, you return not to sleep as escape, but as starlight finding its way back to stillness. The planet beneath you knows how to hold that light. It has done so through fire and frost, through chaos and calm. Its arms are wide enough for all your weariness, its sky deep enough for all your dreams. You are not too much, you are not too little. You are exactly the shape that fits into this moment, so breathe. Feel the weight of your body settle into the bed, as if the earth itself has curved to meet you. You are not alone. There is moss growing in the dark, slowly. There are roots threading through the soil, silently. There are stars slipping across the sky, invisibly, and all of it is happening without struggle. Let that be your permission to soften, to drift, to be nothing but this warm, breathing flicker of life between dusk and dawn. You have done enough, more than enough. The earth has watched you try and strive and reach, and now it simply asks you to rest, to let the night carry you like the wind carries a leaf, like gravity carries a river, like memory carries a name long after the voice is gone. Sleep and know you are still becoming. The night deepens, not to swallow the world, but to soothe it. Darkness is not absence here, it's invitation. A soft veil drawn across the sky, whispering, it's time to be still now. Somewhere on the other side of the planet, light is blooming again. A child is waking, a tide is rising. A bird is singing its first note into the morning air. But here, in your corner of the turning earth, the world quiets with you. You are not missing anything. You are exactly where you belong in the endless unfolding of this living sphere. The earth is not static, not frozen, but fluid. A conversation between fire and air, stone and water, light and longing, and you are part of that dialogue, even in your silence. You are speaking with the world. Every breath you take returns something. Carbon, warmth, presence. Every heartbeat is a response to gravity's soft request. Stay close, stay grounded, and so you do. Wrapped in the quiet weight of sleepiness, you let go just a little more. Let the muscles of your face go slack. Let your hands forget to hold. Let your spine remember how to soften, like riverbeds after the flood. You are not falling apart. You are falling inward, into a place where clocks have no meaning, where time curls like mist around ancient memories you don't need to name. This, too, is part of the earth, not just oceans and forests, but this moment of your soft surrender, this slowing, this stillness. Elsewhere, the world still spins. Tectonic. Plates shift beneath you at the speed of fingernails growing. Mountains rise imperceptibly. Coral reefs bloom in places no human has ever seen, and none of it hurries, none of it worries. All of it simply becomes. You are allowed to do the same. You don't have to prove your worth by being awake to witness. Everything the planet will remember for you. It remembers how glaciers carve valleys, how seeds push through soil without ever being told how stars ignite in the quiet heart of darkness. You are part of that remembering, part of that rhythm, part of a lineage not of kings, but of creatures that knew how to curl into warmth and wait for morning. So wait, not in anxiety, but in peace. Sleep is not failure. It is return to breath, to stillness, to the soft humming thread that connects your heartbeat to the molten center of the earth and the glow of stars so far away. They do not yet know that you have closed your eyes, but they will, because your stillness is part of the harmony. Your rest is part of the balance, so let the world hold you now. Let the earth remember your weight. Let your body do what it's always known how to do: release, restore, renew. You don't have to carry everything into the morning. The planet will carry it for you. Sleep. You are already home. Asterisk. The planet turns. Slowly, faithfully, without hesitation, without needing applause. It does not check its progress. It does not ask for reassurance. It simply moves, because movement is its nature, and rest is part of that movement. To dot somewhere beneath your resting body, magma flows in silence, not violently, but steadily, a slow, glowing current at the heart of stone. This is what holds up mountains, what makes valleys rise and fall, what quietly builds islands in the middle of oceans so deep they've never known a footprint. And above it all, you rest. You with your tender skin, your quiet lungs, your heart that beats without asking permission. You were never meant to be the strongest, the fastest, or the most efficient. You were meant to feel, to notice, to connect. And tonight, as your breath slows and your thoughts soften like sand in water, you are doing exactly what you were built for. You are returning to alignment with gravity, with rhythm, with the earth beneath you and the stars that light your sky. Those stars, you know they're not fixed. They drift too, slowly shifting across the heavens, like continents in the sky. Constellations fade, reform, become stories for new generations. And still they shine, not because anyone sees them every night, but because shining is simply what they do. Just like you, existing is enough. Breathing is enough. Lying here, held by this moment, is enough. There are no gold stars for exhaustion, no medals for always staying strong. Even the moon disappears sometimes, slipping into shadow, resting behind the earth. And yet we never doubt that it will return. You can trust yourself that much too. Trust that you don't need to be seen to be valuable, that you don't need to be productive to be precious. You are already made of what the earth holds: sacred, water, light, silence, time. The same elements that shaped the first forests and cooled the first stones now shape your rest. They know what to do. They've done it for eons. So let your body be guided not by tasks or clocks, but by the pull of the planet, by the soft weight of your eyelids, by the warm hush of your chest rising, falling, rising again. There is nothing more to prove. Tonight, the world is quiet now, not because it's empty, but because it is full of trust, and trust is quiet. Let it hold you. Let it hum in your bones like lullabies without lyrics. Let it carry you like driftwood carried by a river, not trying to swim, not trying to steer, just allowing the current to know the way, because it does. The earth always does. Sleep not as a pause, but as a continuation, not as surrender, but as return. You are not floating alone. You are woven into the rhythm of a planet that spins just to hold you, asterisk. Somewhere far above your roof, the sky is gently curving overhead, a quiet dome that has watched you every day of your life, and all the days before it. It is not just sky, it is memory, the same sky that cradled the first birds in flight, that arched over mammoths and wildflowers, that heard the first human voices sing into the wind. It remembers it all, and tonight it watches over you, to dot, not to judge, not to measure, only to be with you as you sleep beneath its vastness, because even the sky knows when to rest. It dims its lights. It softens its edges. It lets the stars come forward, not to perform, but to be. Each one of those stars is a distant sun, a lantern from another place and time. And yet they shine for you tonight, just as they shined for every ancestor who looked up in wonder before they closed their eyes. You are part of that wonder. You always have been, and the earth beneath. You knows this. You lie on layers of history, softened stone, ancient roots, dust from deserts long turned to grasslands. The bed beneath you rests on a floor, that rests on a crust, that rests on a mantle that hums with quiet fire. And through all of it, gravity holds you like a lullaby wrapped in warmth. You do not float away. You do not fall. You are cradled by rock, by silence, by stardust. Even your breath tonight is part of a sacred cycle, air breathed by forests, air exhaled by whales, air that once spun through the lungs of ancient wolves and blue butterflies, and children from long ago sleeping beside the same sky dot. You are not separate from any of it. You are the continuation of a planet learning how to listen, learning how to rest, learning always how to begin again. So rest now, not as retreat, but as return. Return to your roots, to your rhythm, to the deep inner knowing that nothing more is needed tonight than your stillness. The earth turns. The stars blink. The wind carries no urgency. Let yourself be just as slow, just as quiet, just as certain. Sleep, not because the day is over, but because the night is ready, and it has been waiting for you like a mother pulling back the covers of a bed you didn't know you already belonged in. Asterisk, the world you know didn't begin with noise. It began with breath, a long, slow inhale of possibility, and everything since has been the unfolding of that single, sacred breath. You are part of that unfolding, not a separate story, not a mistake in the margins, but a quiet sentence in the long poem of the earth. Even now, as you lie still, that poem continues, not with words, but with waves lapping on distant shores, with whales singing in the dark sea, with fireflies blinking in ancient forests. No one is watching, and yet they glow anyway. That's the kind of world you live in, one that offers its beauty without needing to be noticed, one that grows things, even in the dark. You are one of those things. You have grown through seasons of light and of shadow. You have softened where you could have hardened. You have kept going when no one saw. That is the deepest kind of strength, and tonight there is nothing left to carry, nothing left to chase. Even the planets, those enormous travelers in the sky, pause in their orbits. They slow at the edges, linger near aphelion, and whisper to the stars, "Let me rest a little longer." And the stars, they always say yes so. Let this be your aphelion, your farthest point, your permission to slow, to float, to drift without destination. There is nowhere you must be right now, no version of yourself you need to become. You are not late, you are not lost. You are exactly where the earth has always intended you to be, between breath and silence, between gravity and grace. The bed beneath you is not just fabric and springs. It is forest, it is mountain. It is every place the earth has ever offered rest, and the sleep you fall into is not just a closing of eyes. It is a return to the deepest part of you that never forgot how to be held. So sink slowly, like sand into water, like fog into the arms of a valley, like night into dawn, trusting the light will return when it's ready. The world has no use for hurry tonight. The moon will keep rising, the oceans will keep breathing, the earth will keep turning, not to finish anything, but to keep everything alive that includes you. So sleep now. You are part of this turning, part of this stillness, part of this planet that never stops loving you, exactly as you are. Asterisk. There is a quietness the earth enters when no one is watching. A stillness not captured by photographs or science, but felt deep in the soil, deep in the self. It's the hush of snowfall on pine needles, the silence between waves, the pause before birds sing at the edge of dawn. And tonight you are part of that hush, not beside it, not outside it, but inside it, woven into its quiet fabric, like a single thread that holds warmth across centuries. The planet knows what to do with rest. After all, it has survived by yielding as much as by holding on. It has crumbled in places only to bloom again. It has cracked and cooled, burned and healed, waited out ice, waited out flame, and never once did it need to rush. You were allowed the same. You don't need to fix anything right now. You don't need to figure it all out. You don't even need to be certain. You only need to be here, breathing, drifting, held. Your body is not wrong for being tired. Your mind is not weak for wanting peace. Even the strongest rivers become still at night. Even the most ancient stones rest where they fall. So let your thoughts settle like silt. Let your spine soften like mountain ridges after rain. Let your breath come slow, as if you're breathing. Not just for yourself, but for the trees, for the whales, for the roots deep beneath cities, still listening to the stories of stars. Because you are not just one thing. You are not just a name, a number, a role. You are forest, you are salt. You are song. You are made of everything that has ever paused and trusted that life would continue on the other side of stillness. Somewhere far from here, a glacier melts and becomes a stream. Somewhere close, a seed waits beneath frost for no other reason than it is not yet time. And you are somewhere in between, becoming without effort. So rest, like the moon rests when hidden, like the bear rests when winter asks it to be still, like the earth rests in the middle of its turning, knowing that night is not the opposite of day, but part of its rhythm. The world is not asking anything of you now. It only asks that you let it hold you. Let the mattress be moss. Let your eyelids be leaves. Let your heartbeat echo the pulse of this great quiet world that continues on without needing to be loud. Sleep, not to forget, but to remember that even now, even here, you are part of the piece that holds everything together. Asterisk. Not everything needs to be bright to be beautiful. Some things, perhaps the most essential things, shine best in the dark, like roots growing deeper when no one is watching, like coral slowly building castles beneath the waves, like you, here, held in the soft hush of night. You are not behind. you were not broken. You were resting, like the earth does, before it blooms again. We live in a world that forgets to pause, that rushes to the next thing, that asks what's next before what's here is even finished. But the earth does not rush. The sunrise, it lets the darkness linger. It lets shadows stretch long across valleys. It lets stillness do its work before the light returns. And what is that work? It is repair. It is remembering. It is renewal. So quiet you may not feel it happening until you wake up and realize something is softer. Something is steadier. Something within you has stitched itself back into place without you needing to understand how. That is what rest does. It's not laziness, it's restoration. The oldest kind of wisdom, even the stars, those ancient burning hearts of the sky flicker, even they rest between their pulses of light. And still, we look up and call them constant. You, too, can flicker, you too can dim, and still be radiant in the rhythm of your own becoming. Tonight, the earth is not asking you to shine. It's simply asking you to stay, to breathe, to let go. Let go of the shape you think you need to be. Let go of the weight you've picked up from a world to hurry to hold it. You were never meant to carry it all. There are rivers that will carry it for you. There are winds that know how to lift what's too heavy. There is soil that has cradled entire forests and can cradle you, too. Even now, beneath the concrete, beneath the cities, the earth remembers softness. It remembers silence. It remembers how to hold everything, birth, loss, change, return, without judgment, without fear. And in this moment, it holds you. You do not need to hold yourself. So let your limbs grow heavy. Let your thoughts grow slow. Let your breath remind your heart that everything is okay exactly as it is. The planet has carried extinction and renewal. It can carry this night. And you sleep now. As the stars blink patiently, as the trees exhale quietly, as the earth spins gently toward another morning that will arrive whether or not you rise to meet it. You don't have to be ready for it yet. For now, you only have to rest. Asterisk, there is a kind of love that does not speak, does not shout, does not even name itself. It's the kind of love that rises with the sun each morning, even when no one watches, that brings the tides in and out, that spins the planet steadily even, when the world above it forgets to feel grounded. It's the kind of love that cradles your entire body as you lie still tonight, without asking anything in return. The earth has always known this kind of love. It doesn't keep score. It doesn't wait for gratitude. It simply continues, feeding, sheltering, holding right now. As your chest gently lifts and falls, that same ancient love surrounds you, not in words, not in ideas, but in the quiet weight of the pillow, the invisible pull of gravity, the soft darkness of the night sky wrapping itself gently around your home. You are not alone in this moment, not just because of the people who have come before you, but because the earth itself refuses to let you drift away. It holds you as it always has, even when you were small and couldn't name it, even on the days when your mind spun and your feet couldn't find where to stand. Even then, this planet never let go. Its soil remembers your steps. Its air has carried your laughter. Its waters have mirrored your face. And tonight, as sleep nears like mist rolling in over still hills, you can return to that memory. Not something you need to recall with effort, but something you can feel deep in your breath, deep in your bones. You are safe here. You don't need to solve the unsolved tonight. You don't need to chase the light. The moon is out there doing it for you, pulling oceans back and forth with silent grace. Patient as ever, let her pull you too, not outward but inward, toward your own tide, toward rest. Even your cells are listening, repairing, regenerating, softening. There is nothing you need to force, nothing to control. You are not a machine in need of maintenance. You are a living thing in need of pause, and the earth, who has rested beneath snow, beneath ash, beneath silence, invites you to rest, to let your breath fall into its rhythm. Let your body know it is allowed to not hold everything tonight. Let your dreams wander not in fear, but in wonder. You are stardust wrapped in skin, and soil wrapped in stardust. A perfect paradox in perfect peace. Sleep now. The earth will keep spinning. The sky will keep shifting. The world will not ask more from you until the light is ready to return. Asterisk, there is a moment, just before dawn, when the world holds its breath. The stars are still shining, but dimmer now, like lanterns, knowing their watch is nearly done. The sky hasn't turned blue yet. It's the color of memory, of in-between, of silence just before song. And in that pause, you are here, not in yesterday, not yet in today, but resting in the softest layer of time, where nothing rushes and everything waits. You may not feel it, but your body knows this hour. It remembers the chill of ancient mornings, when fire had to be coaxed back to life, when warmth came not from the sun, but from breath, from closeness, from knowing you weren't alone, and you're not. The earth still turns beneath you, steady and faithful. The same earth that has turned through extinctions and ice ages, storms and silence. It has carried the footsteps of hunters and healers, wanderers and warriors, mothers and midwives, all wrapped in the same quiet desire you carry now to feel safe, to feel home, and here you are. The walls may be different, the sky may be filled with wires and light, but beneath it all, you are still connected to the oldest ground there is. The land remembers your ancestors. It remembers their hands, their grief, their songs, their stories whispered into the dark, just like this. The quiet you feel right now, it's sacred. It's the breath between what was and what will be. You don't need to rise yet. The day has not called your name. The world is still turning without your effort. The birds are not yet singing. The sun is not yet here. And that, dear one, is your permission to remain soft. Let your thoughts stay slow. Let your muscles rest, not because they're broken, but because they've carried you far. Let your heart beat gently without needing to prove anything. You are not preparing. You are not recovering. You are simply being, and that is enough. Even the trees, those tall, silent keepers of light, do not grow in the night. They wait, they rest, they trust that morning will come. You can trust to dot in this moment. Your body repairs itself. Your mind releases what it no longer needs. Your spirit drifts through the soft folds of dream, gathering what it will bring back when the light returns. But not yet now. You are wrapped in the oldest truth the planet offers, that you are not alone, that rest is not weakness, that even the earth, so vast, so ancient, has its quiet hours and chooses to spend them holding you. So breathe, sink deeper. Let what's left of night finish its song with you still in it. You are not late, you are not early. You are exactly where you belong, between heartbeat and horizon, between stillness and beginning, between earth and sky. Asterisk, asterisk. And now the earth turns toward morning, not suddenly, not loudly, but with the same gentleness it has always offered, a quiet glow at the edge of everything. As light begins its slow return, you may not feel it yet. Your room is still dim, your eyes still closed, your body still folded into the soft silence of sleep, but somewhere on mountaintops, on ocean waves, on rooftops and rivers, the first light touches the earth again, and in doing so, it touches you. That light is not new. It has traveled across space for millions of years just to find you now, here, resting, not asking you to rise, not demanding you begin, just arriving, like breath, like trust. It reminds you, without speaking, that the planet has turned one more time, that even as you slept, you were carried through darkness, through silence, through stillness, carried by a planet that spins, not because it must, but because it can, because motion is part of its love, because cycles are its way of remembering how to begin again, and you are part of that cycle. This sleep you've allowed yourself, this pause, this letting go, it was never a detour, it was the path itself. Rest is not what you do before. The real journey begins. Rest is the journey. Just ask the trees, who sleep all winter. Ask the bears, who curl into caves and emerge no less whole. Ask the stars, who disappear with the dawn only to shine again when the sky calls them home. Everything in this world, the rivers, the wind, the clouds drifting across mountains, they all take time to disappear and return, and so do you. This night, this series of deep, gentle breaths, this trust you've given gravity to hold you until the light came back, this, too, is a kind of miracle. And now, as the sky slowly brightens, as the earth leans toward day once again, you are invited not to leap forward, but to rise slowly, like mist lifting from water. There is no rush. The world is already in motion. You don't have to push it. You only have to join it whenever you're ready, with your feet still warm, with your eyes still soft, with your heart still wrapped in the rhythm of the stars. And if today feels too heavy, remember, you don't have to carry the whole day. At once, you only need to carry this moment, then the next, then the next, one breath at a time, like earth, like dawn, like the long arc of galaxies still spinning far above you. You are a part of it all, a fragment of stardust, learning how to rest and how to rise. The night has done its work. You are ready now, not perfect, not finished, just ready. Welcome back. The earth has been waiting for you.